Should we like turn? Are you seeing weird?
Check it out.
Check it out.
Like we're in a wedding. Should we fan?
Man.
Alright, let me get this right here. Does it look better with it?
I like it. It's very pro.
Alright. Are we shooting?
Yeah.
Alright. Welcome to SVM Hoopin. I'm Dan Waisner alongside Christopher Heimerman. Hey, Ty. No. We're shooting our video. Alright. Alright now. Yep, bye. Alright. Are we still shooting? Do we need to start over? Welcome to SVM Hoopin. I'm sports editor Dan Waisner alongside assistant sports editor Christopher Heimerman. And this week we're talking about the Class 3A Sterling Girls Basketball Regional. We have 3 teams there. Starting out with Dixon, we'll be playing Mendota on the 11th, which is a Monday at 7:30 in Sterling.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm the Duchesses, I want to go into this regional, and I want to make a statement right off the bat. Good matchup with the Trojans, and last year, you know, when they went out to Rochelle for that regional, they had the Hubs right where they wanted them. Obviously, a very different Hubs team this time around, the #1 seed, but last year Dixon had an opportunity to knock them off and really kind of laid an egg in the 4th period and ended up seeing their season come to a close. So if I'm the Duchesses, maybe a little bit tougher of a team this year. You know, Brooke Bailey, I mean, if she's a little bit better, it's barely negligible. She was pretty darn good last year to begin with, but supporting cast getting a little bit better around her. I think that Monday night game is going to be a good one, and I actually like the Duchesses finding their way into a semifinal.
We'll see if the schedule that Gravelin and athletic director John Empen pays off. You know, they schedule a lot of tough teams. Their winter tournament was a lot harder this year than it had been in years past.
Oh, yeah.
This is where you see if that pays off. And you know, Mendota's a solid team from the Big Northern. They're right in the middle. We know that conference is tough, so it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday night, the winner of that game will play Rochelle, who's the top seed.
Mm-hmm.
And
another opportunity for vengeance, potentially.
Yeah. And Rochelle's played really well. I know you got to see him a little bit at the Dixon tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And the game after that will be Rock Falls Sterling, second meeting for them this year.
I love it. I love the fact that they face each other in the first round. Otherwise, potentially, you know, we wouldn't get a chance to see that Twin Cities matchup. And you think about when we saw with the boys last year in the semifinal between Rock Falls and Sterling, and that was a ton of fun. You and I were sitting in the upper balcony at Lancaster Gym, and you know, I believe we triple teamed that game, and rightfully so. It was a classic. So I think you can expect another one this time around. You know, these teams got together right at the beginning of the season at the tail end of the Sauk Valley shootout, and Rock Falls won that game. It was funny. I looked back and I expected to see that Sterling won it, you know, because you know we think about the Rockets coming off that long volleyball season. I had forgotten that Rock Falls actually won that first matchup. A lot of time has passed since then, but you know, I still think that despite the fact that Sterling, you know, probably should have been a little bit of a better team then, I think that they are going. I think that they have a good shot at winning that game and finding their way into the championship game. But Rock Falls, you know, talk Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, we've seen so much of that from them this season.
Yeah, you'll see them play a tough game like they did Saturday against Oregon, where they just fell by 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
But then they'll come out, you know, in another game and lose by 50 to a team that, you know, of comparable talent to Oregon. You know, I know against Riverdale they had that happen. I think against Lutheran,
yeah,
I believe it was, or Byron. One of those 2 teams, they just, you know, it was like 70-26, and you're just wondering, how does that happen with a group of girls like Jordan Giddings, Morgan Man Motion competitors who we've seen have success in volleyball and basketball and softball, just kind of come out and, you know, kind of lay eggs like that. And it just seems like once a week they do that, and once a week they play really well. So it's going to be hard telling what you get when you get into the regional against Sterling.
Yeah, maybe when they're completely overmatched, maybe it's a group that folds a little bit. But when they're in a game against a team like Sterling, you would certainly hope that they would leave everything on the floor in that matchup. So that's really exciting. And then, of course, you know, most likely you're going to see Rochelle play one of those 2 teams in the championship game, and that would be on the Thursday night. So it's kind of cool that it's right here in our backyard, because I think we're going to get a chance to see a lot of great games, and you're obviously going to want to get over to Musgrove and check out all the action you can.
Well, the other big news we've kind of had this week in the area hoop scene is the return of Jeremy Richmond to the Sauk Valley Predators. The Predators season, which last year was going on at this point,
Right.
doesn't start till March this year. Richmond is really the first name we've heard come out. Sounds like the final roster will come out later this week. What are your thoughts on Jeremy coming back to the area?
I've been curious where Jeremy's going to land. I mean, a few weeks ago we heard that he was going to be trying out with some teams out on the East Coast, and he was very mum about exactly where that was going to be. Here he is back in our backyard where he had a pretty nice season last year. And actually, the Predators, you can follow them on Twitter. I believe it's at Sauk Valley Predators. They've been tweeting out a lot of the returnees who are going to be back this season. Like Jeremy Box is going to be back. It sounds like they got a couple of nice players from the IBA who were offensive forces last year. And the league, from what we gather, is expanding as well. Almost twice as many teams this time around. And, that's kind of a two-way street. I think it's cool that, fans are going to get to see a lot of different teams. In the same breath, coming from a minor league hockey background a little bit, I like the smaller leagues where you play a lot of the same teams over and over again. Yeah, it can get redundant for the players, but the fans kind of grab onto those rivalries, and they see those players come back, and they get familiar with guys who they enjoy cheering against. So we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully we don't run into the same scenario where they get to the postseason and they play all their games out on the East Coast.
Yeah. Well, and you worry about in a league like that is overgrowth too fast, and then the whole league kind of suffers for it.
Exactly.
You getting back to Jeremy, he scored 13 points a game last year, 7 rebounds in 9 games. You worry about what happened is, he got in a little bit of trouble, a little probation trouble towards the end. He ended up not being in the playoffs right when you were starting to kind of depend on his, production.
Mm-hmm.
But that's sort of the double-edged sword with this league is if players play really well, there's a really good chance they're not going to be there when you need them because they move up and not moving out. Like last year, Sauk Valley had 3 or 4 players go to Europe about mid-season,
mm-hmm.
and that's kind of what brought Jeremy to the Predators to begin with. Was they lost a few of those players. They want that. They want those players to get that opportunity, but they also want to win. And if you lose them, then you have to sign other players, and then you have that up and down transition period.
Yeah, and the turnover.
Yeah.
Again, coming back to the fans, that they want to get to know players like Carlton Fay was a big fan favorite, and I mean he lived with the Grenobles. The family absolutely loved him, and I chatted with Brad after the season wrapped up, and he talked about how it's a feather in their cap, like you said, to be able to say we moved these guys on to the next level. But in terms of continuity, that's minor league sports for you. It's tough to maintain. And hopefully, just gauging by some of the guys they're bringing into the fold, they should be able to have success with this new group. But yeah, I'm pulling for Jeremy. I find myself oftentimes pulling for, I hate to use the term, but underdogs. Guys who have run into some troubles, and hopefully he can keep his nose clean and produce on the floor. And obviously he's a guy who's got a place in your heart as a former Illini. But we're going to see. Unfortunately it's one of those cases where only time's going to tell.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week. We'll be talking about 1A, 2A boys basketball regionals. Those come out Friday afternoon, and we'll see you then.
All right, we'll see you at the games.